want you to just pause for a minute and ask yourself, why did I come here this morning? Those who are laughing, I'm guessing it was for the food. Okay, just kidding. I love being here. I remember when I was like 6 or 7 and I woke up one Sunday morning and my mom said, "We're not going to church today, honey." And I cried and cried. It's my place to be. I'm so glad to be here with you. I like to be reminded. I just talk up here to remind myself. And if it works for you too, great. But I'm here to remind myself of why I'm here, why I'm in this body. Why did I come to this dimension? Who is the I in me that came here? And, I like to do a lot of thinking and understanding and digging and what if it's this. I remember I learned so much in seminary from various, not only professors who had their own views, but my classmates had their own views. And the one that really stuck for me was when, I was trying to decide, but why? Why God? Why this huge divine universe and everything that's happening in it? And something that felt right to me was, so God could experience itself through its creation, which means it's not like it's a divine mind that's sitting out there somewhere watching, but that it's involved in. It's part of this experience that we're having. Yes? Oh, you're not sure. So hopefully. No, you don't have to be sure. Who knows? I can't tell you for sure until I get back out of the body and I leave this veil behind and then have a clearer view of it. But what I want us to focus on today, I promised you we'd talk about intentions. At the beginning of the year, a lot of us make resolutions. And intentions could be considered a similar thing. A lot of you made vision boards yesterday as a way of setting intentions for the year. But I'm going to ask you to back up a little bit and think about intentions today, the very best of intentions that we can hold for our life by beginning with our union with the divine, that dominates our experience day in and day out, that we remember I cannot be here if spirit is not here expressing as me, and trying to marry our self with a capital S to the truth of what God is in our life. And that's no easy thing, right? To, gently join with a human body from the time that we're an infant in order to have this experience, knowing that it's going to throw up all kinds of obstacles and challenges in our way. And the veil being one of those things. On purpose, it's meant to hide the truth from us. Really, if we came in here fully awake to our divine spirit, it would literally blow our circuits and we wouldn't be able to really function. So there's just enough available to us of knowing the truth of who we are so that God and we, which is one and the same, are here to play together, to create, to have fun, to experience life. It says in the Psalms 37, starting in verse 4, it says, "Take delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust in him, and he will do this. He will make your righteous reward shine like the dawn." That sounds like a good reason to come here, doesn't it? And what are the rules? Take delight in the Lord and commit your way. So there is a process that's required if we want to do this, if we want to walk this path from our best of intentions, which is the intention of the divine mind. When the Fillmores started teaching on a grand scale, people lived all over the country and were hearing about them, and they couldn't access their teaching. So the Fillmores and others created Unity Correspondence School lessons that they would mail out about the basic spiritual principles. One of the things that was written was, the intention of God is that man should maintain a perpetual conscious connection between self and God. Wouldn't that be cool if that were the case? That is God's first intention, highest intention, is that we, in this human experience, choose to consciously connect with that divine presence as often as possible, perpetually. Never stops. That's our primary intention. What does it mean to connect with the Spirit of God? I'm going to invite you to think about that this morning. What does it mean to perpetually, consciously connect with God? Maybe we could start by just imagining that what we see through our eyes in this human experience, let's pretend like they're God's eyes. And does God interpret what's happening right now the same way that I usually do? I promise you, most of the time, no. Unless we're really, having a great day of expressing our higher self. Most of the time, God's looking at things with joy and peace and gratitude and excitement and enthusiasm. Our ego, the human in us, the brain, the malfunction of the physical dimension of us, just looks out there. What's the primary lowest level of the hierarchy of needs, Maslow's hierarchy of needs? What's the bottom level? I just heard so many. I thought, okay, if you say so. And what I was going to say was survival. Basic human survival. So if at any time our human self thinks that that's being threatened, well, then baby, that's the first thing we're going to pay attention to. We're going to look at things as, is this a threat? So what if we shifted so that our primary intention before we go into survival mode was to turn to the divine presence in us and say, what's the highest view here, Spirit? What's the truth here, Spirit? I came here to allow this divine force to flow through me, to be a channel for this source, as this source. So this is my chance to live from spiritual nature. That's why I came here. So let's get my act together here and look at this through the eyes of spirit. So when it looks with compassion. It looks with love and peace and patience. It allows what is happening instead of resists what is happening, knowing that there's only one power here and nothing working against it. And so it can be at peace even in the face of the most difficult challenges here in this physical dimension. And P.S., we came here for those challenges. You chose this. I'll just say that again. You, as a spiritual being, chose this life. You chose to be on planet Earth right now. So think about whatever's happening on planet Earth right now. You chose, as an extension, a unique expression of the divine, to come here and live life in your own unique way, still as God, knowing that these things were going to be happening. How do you feel? Actually, I hope that will empower you a little. Our higher self must have known that we could survive it, or it wouldn't have chosen it in the first place. Now, I have heard many spiritual teachers say that planet Earth is a tough school. That if you're brave enough as a spirit to come here, those spirits that are watching from a physical dimension, a fifth dimension, spiritual dimension, are going, wow. We bow down and worship you that you chose to come down and experience this. One person who was a Christian, what's his last name, Sundberg, talked about how in spirit, he had a memory of who he was before he came into the body, and that memory was him bumping into another spirit in the fifth dimension, and he just noticed something about that spirit was so alive and in depth and vibrant. He's like, what? How come you're so different? You are cool, in my words. And the spirit said, oh, I've been to Earth. Have you done that yet? No, but I'm going to do that. And if you read his book, you'll see it was no easy path. But what's happening to us when we can consciously connect with that mind of God on a regular basis? Then these challenges, we have a way of overcoming them, to be in the world but not of the world, as Jesus said. So, gosh, I got way off track there, but it was important, evidently. the results that we experience when we are deeply connected to Spirit are so much grander and more meaningful, fulfilling when we're doing this with Spirit and making that conscious connection with each other. The good news is that when you remember to ask Spirit what's next, it already knows exactly what's needed. It's all, sorry. I got to laugh because I had to deal with my sweet friend Gordon when he passed, that when he wanted me to know he was around, I would naturally look at the clock and it would say 11:11. So hi, Gordy. Sorry, that was totally selfish of me. So anyway, I just have to laugh at that. So Spirit has the details all worked out. It's got all the resources that you need. It's got all the right people to connect you with, if you remember to involve Spirit in the process. On the other hand, if we let the veil come down between us and Spirit, and we just work from the human being, which gets the dominant right, because this is three-dimensional, it gets the dominant right, then what its tendency is to start counting beans. You know, you get a desire in your heart and you first start counting beans. Like, how many beans do I have, and will I be able to afford this? Do I have what I need to be able to do this? And what's plan B in case A fails? And what's plan C in case B fails? And it's probably going to fail, so I should have plan D. So that's the way that the Spirit, or the human in us works. But, wow, we miss out on so much if we don't consciously connect with that divine presence in and as us. Tama Keeves, we had her here speaking a few years back. She wrote a book that I love, Inspired and Unstoppable. And she told her spiritual story about how she wanted to create a new life for herself and start a new career path. And she was trying to figure out how to do it. And it took her a while, but she came to this result up here on the screen. I'm never going to make it in the world with a petty mind, an uptight, counting, calibrating, fearful mind. The universe laughs with abundance. Say that last sentence with me. The universe laughs with abundance. But we forget that if we don't consciously connect with the divine first. So we have that option. We can either be, tightening, what's it you tighten when you're... Purses? Okay, your purse strings, yeah. So you can do that if you want, but it's just not going to get you anywhere. It's just going to hold you back. Remember, to fulfill our purpose for being, it's about opening up to the infinite good of God that's available to us. And again, no matter the outer circumstances, your spirit walks through this, and you have the choice of walking through it from that point of view where it's easy peasy. Okay, I won't say that. I will say that when the challenges come, because Jesus told us in this world there would be tribulation, but also said we can overcome this experience when we're consciously connected with the Christ Spirit, the divine mind within us. So one of the things we want to keep focusing on to do this is to let the word co-create take residence in you. Co-create with Source. Now, I hesitated about using that word because a lot of times that makes you think it's God separate from me, but it's not. It's your human mind choosing to come up a level into the spiritual dimension and draw near to the divine ideas of God. Consider. Let's just say that. Co-creating is about considering a higher point. Good job, you guys. I didn't literally mean let's say that, but good. That's it. That was funny. Yeah. So when we can align, then we become more powerful as we make our decisions. As a matter of fact, I've heard somebody say, I don't remember what the specific number is, but I'll just use a big number, that if you remember to co-create with God, then the next steps, the next decisions, the next ideas that come to you will push you through whatever challenge in a way that millions of people cannot when they don't remember to do that. This is how one person wins the lottery, and I'm not necessarily saying it's all about God made me win the lottery. Let's not get in there. But success, when it's hard to get to success in a specific topic, think about the Super Bowl. How many fans are holding a consciousness of the light, the joy of life versus they've got to win. Yeah, can you feel the difference? Yeah. So how do you think God looks at the Super Bowl? What a riot! This is fun. Oh, did you feel that? Wow. In heaven you can't experience that punch. So it's just an experience, right? Okay, I'm, again, getting off track. So when we forget to co-create and this desire comes upon us, we go into hesitation mode. We worry about how to do it, or there's not enough resources to do it. And that's when you have stepped away from co-creation and you've gone back to it's all on my shoulders. And boy, if you're going to create that way, yes, you're going to have problems. You're going to have more challenges. When you think it's only up to moi to get this done, it's going to make it more difficult. So you have a chance to shift gears, go into co-creation, conscious connection with Spirit. Make that the best of your intentions to get started with. And when you do that, you're honoring God's purpose for you, the very creative process that was designed in divine mind. I can't remember what the situation was prelude to this, but the disciples were afraid or angry or upset about something that they couldn't do, and Jesus was telling them to get a grip, and the disciples were staggered. And it says from Matthew 19, well, then who has any chance at all? And Jesus looked hard at them and said, no chance at all, if you think you can pull it off yourself. Every chance in the world if you trust God to do it. And something that Paul wrote to the Philippians, whatever I have, wherever I am, I can make it through anything in the one who makes me who I am. Now, to me, the most important words are in the one. That's how we can make it through anything. In and as the one. So what's our job as co-creator with God? If we're going to co-pilot the plane, so to speak, it's making way for the way of God. And what is the way of God? Peace, joy, adventure, enthusiasm, hope and faith, gratitude and excitement. When you get to those levels of feeling, now you're aligned with Spirit. Now you're open and receptive to where Spirit wants to push you. And take delight. There's the beginning of that psalm again. Take delight in the Lord is what's going to get you there. So keep following what's of joy to you. Take steps that say, ooh, that feels better than that. Even if it's just a teeny little increment upward in energy, take that choice instead. I had an opportunity I came to this point in my life where I was like, okay, this is not why I'm here. There's something more for me to do. And I'd been called, many of you have heard the story, I'd been called as a child to come into ministry, and I didn't really understand it at the time, but it was still sitting back here in the back of my mind, and I'm like, time's running out, and I really think I need to be looking into this, and how can I make this happen? And guess what? My veil came down, and I immediately went to, I don't have enough money to do that. So I guess in order to really think about going into seminary, first, I'm going to have to make a lot of money. And it happened at that time in my life that I was a director of operations for a company that helped place contract workers, some of which were in the technology field. And at the time, Oracle developers were really big. And Oracle developers, as they were getting placed, I was seeing what they were getting paid. It was $75 to $100 an hour. And I thought, wow, I'll just become an Oracle developer. I'll just make a lot of money. I'll store it all up, and then I can go ahead and do whatever it is that I want to do. I'm going to go get me a book on how to be an Oracle developer. So I did. I couldn't get through chapter 1. I was ready to puke. I literally felt sick to my stomach. Ever had that moment? You think that's the solution because it makes sense to the brain? Well, I just couldn't do it. It was just literally too sickening for me. And as I kept turning back to, wouldn't it be nice if I just was already a minister? And I just started thinking, yeah, that would be fun. And I just started kind of taking steps about if I were in seminary, what would I be doing right now? And before you knew it, I was in seminary. I just kept following what was joyful to me. And that was Spirit, just trying to, guide me on the right path to find the joy. Keep following it. It will lead you there. That's what happens when you co-create with Spirit, is it handles the details. You just got to stay there in consciousness with the divine possibilities, because you and God are one. Your life and God's life are one. They're the same thing. I know that's hard for the brain to take in, but I'm telling you, every time you hear that nudge on your heart to do something, that desire, think of it as a mating call from your spirit. That's saying, come on, I got something fun planned for you. Let's do this together. Spirit is seeking more fulfillment by creating something new, or, bringing a problem up into a solution. And we feel it. The question is, will we grab hold of it and say, but we have to do it my way because this is the only way I understand, and it may take longer, and it may feel like a drudge. That's an option. Let me go back to Tam McKee's and her book, Inspired and Unstoppable. When she was starting this career path, she thought, I want to lead retreats and classes. I want to teach the masses and make tons of money. And so one of her first projects was to lead a retreat, and it was an outdoor retreat. It's going to be part of a hike. And the day of the retreat, she started getting phone calls, and all these people started canceling. And the more that canceled, she was hanging up, and the more she was crying. It's like, this isn't what I planned. This isn't how I expected it to be. I was going to teach the masses and make lots and lots of money. I can't do that if they keep hanging up on me. And she felt like the universe was sabotaging her divine idea. So let me pick up in the story here. So people were giving her all kinds of excuses about why they couldn't come that day. She said to herself, you should call those people up and see if their toddler really has the flu. Fortunately, I hustled my sad mind into meditation instead. From a more centered place, I decided to let the day I had planned dissolve into the day that was planned, the tide of occurring events. I opened my heart to myself and then to the circumstances that lay before me. I resolved, with everything I had, to walk forward in love, or at least not spit. She said, let me tell you, a strange thing happened on that hike. Only 5 participants showed up. Every one of them was a woman. Every one of those women were wearing a purple t-shirt, including me. And on that clear and sunny day in the cedar-fragranced mountains, one woman felt safe enough to begin to grieve a recent death in her life. And the rest of us instinctively circled around her like medicine women holding back the wind and inviting her voice. That day on the mountain, we, the chosen ones, had a deep, raw, and otherworldly experience. And it was clear to me that we had been destined to be there, and the others absolutely needed to clear away. During that entire hike, I could see the hand of a great love, impeccable, unpredictable, and sacred. Obviously, this day had never been about having a well-attended class. It was about encountering an original, alive, anointed experience and the honor of serving with grace. That's what it's like to consciously connect with Spirit first, to give way to that. Trust that if the desire that's coming on your heart is of Spirit, then so will the methods be, and so will the resources be, and so will the guidance be, and the results be. If you open yourself to what Spirit wants to do in this process. Co-create with the divine. Now, I have to say, if we can make co-creation, the best of intentions, I think one of the first steps that we can take in that is to awaken to our true identity, to remember our true identity as spirit, instead of letting this physical being hold us back. That means being as spirit, thinking as spirit, seeing as spirit, knowing as spirit. Something that Ernest Holmes says to describe this. He said, while the power behind all things is limitless, it must become operative through our own thought. What we need is not some greater power, but a greater consciousness, a deeper realization of life, a grander concept of being. The all power in us has to become what we make it. That is a bit of a responsibility. Infinite power becomes what we make it through our conscious connection with God or totally forgetting about God. There are so many people on this planet that have no clue who they are. Not even an inkling that their true nature is spirit. Even, do I want to say this? Well, I'll just say from my childhood up until about my 30s, late 20s, early 30s, I thought that I didn't have any clue I was spiritual. I thought I was human, only human. That's what I was taught. And that's why I was so miserable, and that's why I was so helpless, and that's why, I screwed up so much and, was basically a worm of the earth. And I was basically just waiting to die to experience a spiritual life. But my darlings, that's not who you are. You already are a spirit. You already are infinite. You already are eternal. So the sooner we can marry our conscious mind with that superconscious Christ spirit within us and realize we're one and the same, it's just we're in this flesh-bound vehicle that's kind of interfering half the time, and realize we don't have to stay stuck with these limitations, that's when we start to fulfill our purpose. That's when we start to give way. So best of intentions, remember who you are. Realize who you are. I'm spirit, I'm eternal, I'm infinite. I'm here to explore and grow. I'm not here to change myself. I'm here to change how I see myself. Do you see the difference? I could have grown up thinking I'm a miserable worm and I'm never going to do anything right, or I could change how I see myself. That's already happening. It's already my nature to be spirit and eternal. I just don't realize it half the time. And for many people, 100% of the time, I don't realize that. So that's our work, to come back into our inherently worthy state of being that has all kinds of potential waiting to come through us if we first, best of intention, consciously connect with that divine mind. Is this making sense? Okay. So typically the ego responds, you get that desire and Kitty says, hey, go to the higher level. How does God see this? And ego responds with fight, flight, or freeze. Do it the easy way, do it the predictable way. But I'm saying, stop a moment, take a breath, realize that's its nature to say those things. Okay, I hear you. Thank you for sharing. But we're going to turn down that noise now. We're going to get quiet, and we're going to come into an awareness of the presence. I'm going to be present to the presence that is right here working through me. Make that the priority instead of how much money do I have in the bank or who loves me now. And when we're in that presence, our focus is on the heart and compassion for ourselves and compassion for all those involved in this desire that we're about to bring into being. And just ask your spirit the questions that will help get you there. When you can get into the energetic level of spirit, now you're able to hear more clearly. But we have to pause. We have to take that time. Tama said, I'm not sure you ever have too much to do, to take some time to open up to the other dimensions within you. When you're refreshed, you're present and alive, and light whizzes through your tasks. You may not even get everything done you originally intended, but that's because your intentions came from tiny mind And now big mind is on the scene. Doesn't that sound more fun? Let your feelings be your guide. The higher level emotions you can get to means you're on the right track. You're thinking the right thoughts. You're headed in the right direction. Check in when you're in those high frequency energies and say, okay, Spirit, what's next? What's mine to do? What's God's to do? What's my motive behind this process? Am I really taking a step in the right direction, or am I doing it selfishly? Am I doing it out of fear? Just ask that Spirit within you. Which direction, right or left, up or down? So, co-creation with God is our best of intentions. But don't forget, God is expressing through others as well. So we also are being called to co-create with each other. It's the same thing as going within and co-creating with the divine mind, is get out there and connect with someone else who has a similar desire or passion and co-create together. I mean, do you remember when reality TV first came online? I can't even remember what the earliest show was. Big Brother. And believe it or not, I never saw it. Survivor. Okay, there you go. That was one. Okay, enough of that. All right. But you know what was interesting about, I think why reality TV was so popular was because the audience was literally watching the creative process in the moment. Those people hopefully weren't scripting their shows. It was just like whatever came up. And it was like, wow, look what they came up with as a solution to that. Or, sometimes it was a train wreck and just couldn't stop looking. But let's go to an improv comedy show. That's more fun. Have anybody been to an improv comedy show where they're trying to tell a story? The intention is for it to be humorous. They don't really know what they're going to say, what the focus is. But you watch these ideas being born in them, and isn't that just a rush to watch that creative thing happen? So imagine when you choose to create with someone else, that's an opportunity for us to just say, there was way more here in this circle of two than there ever would be in just me. So I think that's why Jesus was saying in Matthew 18, he said, if two of you agree on earth about anything you ask, it will be done for you by my Father in heaven. Where 2 or 3 gather in my name, I am in the midst. So think of that Jesus as the Christ in your midst, the divine mind in your midst. And when you choose to connect with another and just start talking about things that you both have in common, you start to feel that rush and ideas start to come that would never have come just individually. So you're deepening the creative process. Your potential is expanding out there. Can you feel it? Spiritual communities do that. They come together as a group. They set an intention, a mission. That we're here as this vibrant, inclusive community for personal growing and joyful knowing of our oneness with Spirit and with each other. When we set an intention like that, we're just opening the door for the potential to come out more freely. Now, one last thing I have to tell you about this co-creating process. Take a breath. You're not going to like it. Think of someone who pushes your buttons. They are one of your co-creators. Oh, yes. Because without them coming and getting in the way of what you want, you would never think to try something new. Do you understand that? We refer to that sometimes as contrast, where I'm walking down this path and I know exactly where I'm going and I know how I'm going to get there and I'm looking forward to it, and Joe Blow steps in on your path and says, no, you can't have that. Throws up a diagnosis in your face, or throws up you're fired in your face, or something out there that you did not want to have happen, you were not predicting would happen. And here's an opportunity for you to either go down in the hole and say that they've got all the power, or co-create with them. Okay, it's like they threw you a ball, and now what are you going to do with it? You going to put it in the basket, or are you going to run home with your little marbles and cry? So this is a chance. What does Spirit want to do in this? They've started it over here. They started it. Yeah, cool. They started it. All right, so now where do I go with this argument, this conflict, this obstacle? And just see what Spirit wants to do. If we argue and push back and resist, we can't hear Spirit. We're in the wrong frequency. Okay? So stay up there as high as you can and just check in. We're going to talk more next week about how to get to the details of the creative process. But this week, I really want you to remember to keep checking in with Spirit every time there is either something that's going wrong or you're just feeling a desire on your heart. Start with that co-creative process. What does Spirit say about this? How does Spirit see this? What does the energy of Spirit around this situation feel like? Is it fear? Of course not. Is it limited? Of course not. Okay, so I'm going to co-create with that. I'm going to let Spirit draw me up into those thoughts and just see where it takes us. The potential is infinite. I'm eternal. This could go on forever. Hey, this is going to go on forever. So don't be worried about getting it done so you can sit back and smoke a cigarette. Just kidding, kids. No smoking allowed. Oh, I don't know where these things come from. But we're not here to just sit on our laurels. God's an infinite creator. You are God expressing, so let's have at it. This is just going to go on forever and ever, and I want you to feel good about that instead of like, I'm exhausted. You know, you can take breaks, but okay, again, I'm getting off track. So here is what I want to finish with up here on the screen. Psalm 127, unless the Lord builds the house, those who build it labor in vain. Have you ever heard that one? That's what it means. If you're not consciously connecting with Spirit, then anything you do on your own is not going to be all that worthwhile. Not that fulfilling, not that lasting. And from Proverbs 3, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not rely on your own insights. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. So let's take some time in the quiet and see if we can't deeply connect to who we are, to what we are. Take a breath, a deep breath, and just let out any tension that you're holding in the body. Take a moment to sense the life energy in your body. I am the life of God. Who am I? Am I the role that I'm playing? My career path? My family relationship? My position? Sink more deeply into the truth. Who am I? I am not my story. I am spirit. That which expands beyond this physical body. I am eternal. That which goes on beyond the life of a physical body. God mind is my mind. My thoughts and ideas reach beyond what this brain can calculate. My heart loves infinitely. Where divine compassion flows freely in the face of every relationship. I do not fear love. My heart naturally allows and accepts. Nothing, no one stands between me and my infinite nature. God's life is my life. Divine love is my love. Divine mind thinks through me. There is only one presence. It is present here and now. It is present as me. This is the truth of my being. And I choose to let it be. And so it is. Amen.